सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावतीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। शांति शांति शांति। Nobody is excited. Nobody is there. No Sairams, no messages. Even Raghava is not. So let's listen to the Pratasmarami and then start with the second verse. Actually, it is enough if we listen to this and get into silence. प्रातर्भजामि मनसा वचसा वगम्यं वाचो विभान्ति निखिला यत् अनुग्रहेण यन्नेति नेति वचने निगमा अवोचम् तं देव देवमजम् अच्युतम् आहुराग्र्यम्. At dawn, I sing the praise of that which is unattainable by mind and speech. But by the grace of which that which is unattainable by mind or speech, but by the grace of that which is unattainable by mind or speech, all the worlds shine. That which the scripture declares through the words, Yanneti neti, through the words, not this, that Deva Devam, that God of gods, they say, Achyutam, unborn and unchanging. Essence of all the Upanishads, the entire Vedanta treatise of Shankara, Vidyaranya, Dattatreya, all are packed into these three verses, so dense without any gap. As per the Om diagram, we were very clear. The Om, the mind is at the joint, which is traveling to the waking or the dream or the deep sleep and all, and coming back and forth. From deep sleep, from dream to deep sleep, it is going. From deep sleep to wake up, it is going. The joining point is mind, very clear. And the Turiya state laid somewhere here, above that bindi, above that curve. From here to there, it is not possible to reach. There is no way mind can reach to the dream state, the waking state, deep sleep state at its will, but it is at loss how to reach, cross that momentary experiences of bliss, that curve, and then cross that and reach that bindi and stay there. There is no possibility of reaching there. How to reach there? Before that, let us say why the mind, that above, that bindi above that curve, why that is not reachable by mind or speech. Let us examine 4 or 5 factors and see how it is not able to, mind or speech cannot reach that. First, let us take quality aspect. When someone asks you, please pick up that yellow flower and give to me for decorations, you are able to distinguish that yellow flower from the orange or the white flower and give it to that person. So that flower has a quality. Brahman is nirguna, beyond quality. So you cannot identify by mind or speech like you identify by your mind and senses, the eye senses, that flower's color and distinguish it from the other colors. You cannot distinguish Brahman from others because Brahman has no quality, nirguna. Kriya, action. We appreciate someone for their good work in office or home, society, etc. Or we condemn the other way, negative. We will not deal with condemning. So this is all associated with action. By action, we are distinguishing some people from other people. Brahman is beyond all action, Nishkriya. So we cannot identify Brahman through mind or speech through this action. Nature or character. A cow has certain characteristics which is universal to all the cows. Okay, we call as cowness. Wrong English, but let us say cowness. Brahman is beyond all characteristics, because once you define a characteristics, then it becomes an object. The moment you define something by its character, it becomes an object. Brahman is not an object. Dauhi padartho hai Atman Anatman. Object and Atman. Relation. Another way of expressing is based on relationships. We call someone as father, mother, etc. Brahman is non-dual, Advaita, the one who is indivisible. There is none other than Brahman. So there is no child to identify someone as father here, because Brahman in essence is non-dual. Again, Brahman cannot be identified through the path of relationship. Lastly, Namarupa. When someone is given a name, it may be based on some deity, or it may be just like that. In Western countries, okay, someone may be named by some messenger, Xavier and all that. Often there are names which signify nothing, which has no reference to Bible or any scriptures. But anyway, if somebody is given a name, so if someone asks who is Mr. Edric, for example, so you identify someone and say, oh, he has a form and he has been given a name. So you identify Edric among 15 people and say, he is there. Brahman cannot be defined, described or identified by mind or senses through name and form. Okay, it is not possible. He is formless and he has no name. Swami Shivananda's famous line, even Satchitananda is only a provisional name given to describe the nature of self. And this name also has to transcend ultimately, which one realizes the self. In the Panchadashi flow, the starch is the Ishvara, willingness. Okay, Saguna Nirakara. Before that, the pure canvas, Nirguna Nirakara. Okay, even beyond that. Beyond that, in the sense, it is essentially Nirguna Nirakara, but in the journey of a Mumukshu Sadhaka, when he reaches beyond all the realm of awareness, leave alone mind, speech, even the awareness, then he cannot be even aware of this canvas nature of Brahman, which is Nirguna Nirakara. So, name and form, everything beyond the manifest and unmanifest, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Gargi and Kyavalkya. Conversation. Okay. So, all the five we took and we proved that it is not possible to define or to identify Brahman with any of this way, through quality, through action, through nature, through relation, through Namarupa. So now it is very clear that Brahman or self or God, whatever name you call, is unattainable, unthinkable by name or speech. Yenne tineti vachane nigama avochan. Then, Guruji, what is the way out? That bindi mind cannot reach. So how? But you have told that is the only goal. How do I reach? Bhajami. Worship. Smarami is ultimate. You get up and immediately, Pratak, Smarami, you remember what you are. Samspurat Atmatattvam, blazing forth consciousness, radiating self. If that becomes difficult in the intermediate or the penultimate stage, leave alone the beginning stage, and the PG stage, it is becoming difficult to. Smarami is becoming difficult, then the path is bhajami, worship. In the previous verse, only one expression conveyed the whole thing. All others added to that one expression, smarami. The whole 4 lines, the essence is covered under Prata Smarami. I am not searching for my true identification. I am not getting into nididhyasana, intense meditation for getting a glimpse. I know when I slept, I knew I am that. I woke up as though there was no gap between the sleep and the waking up. Instantly, smarami. I remember. Only smarami is the key expression there. Here, even that smarami is becoming difficult, or the penultimate stage of smarami, Shankara had to bring in 2 expressions. What are 2 expressions? Bhajami and manasa vachasa amagamyam. Manasa vachasa amagamyam. That is, worship bhajami, but at the same time, here bhajami has come. Bhajami may be misconstrued or misunderstood as form worship or ritual worship or all those things. So, very clearly Shankara had to rule out that this worship is nothing less than smarami, in fact, which we will realize as we go through. So he had to build up 2 expressions. That means worship, at the same time worshipping that which is not attainable, manasa vachasa magamyam. Worshipping something, if we had left it there, then worship can be ritual, loud chanting, all dhupa deepa, all pomp and shows, worship all those things. No. He said worship, at the same time worshipping how? Worshipping that which cannot be reached through mind and senses. These 2 expressions are the key expressions in the second verse. Bhakti, when pursued by mind and speech, is more of emotion. He has often told you, distinguish between emotion and devotion. Emotion is short-lived. The emotion with which you cry, hearing a bhajan in the Sai Sadan, that emotion can take you beautifully. With the same emotions you can cry seeing something tragedy happening in the serial when you switch on the TV 10 o'clock after the bhajan. Emotion is short-lived. Emotion is through mind and senses. Here it is ruled out, which cannot be attained through mind and senses. No, emotion is mind. Okay, in the Chinmayananda, BMI, OET, PFT chart, body, mind, intellect. What is that? Perceiver, feeler, thinker aspect. Next is OET, object associated with body. E, emotions associated with mind. Okay, OET, T associated with intellect. BMI, OET. Okay. So emotions with mind, here we have ruled out because we have said it is not attainable by mind or senses at all. Howsoever in depth your meditation might be on the formless Brahman, when you wake up to the world and the experiences from the world is bent upon swallowing you totally like the shark, what to do? Acharya gave you the Mula Mantra, give your hands to him. But you may turn around after listening to the above and look at him with a question mark and he would know your question even if you hesitate to raise, because he himself has to ask the question on your behalf. Guruji, this giving hands to Swami involves emotion. There is an emotional connectivity with Swami. Then how through this we can reach, because you are saying that it is unattainable mind or speech. A question may arise. What Shivananji Maharaj would answer like this: Hey Saumya, he would start like this: Dear child, to begin with, let the emotion be there, no problem. Instead of getting emotional to the stupid characters in the TV, or the emotional towards the stupid infatuation which you develop, okay, he said attach to detach, attach with God to detach from the world. So it be in the beginning stage, if you are not able to continue with that state of meditation in the Pratakali, in that formless meditation, with that state, if you are not, or even if it is Kriya Yoga, with that state, if you are not able to continue in your waking state, then in the waking state, to begin with, if it is emotion, let that emotion. What it does, what benefit it does from you, again go back to Sayum Sayum. Okay. What it happens? It is emotion. Okay, may it be emotion, but it is 90% problem it is solving. How? What we learned in that Krishna analogy, which will go on forever, by pursuing on one, focusing on one form Krishna, all other objects are gone in the creation. Single pointed devotion. You are focused so much on Krishna here, by giving your hands, you are so much focused on Swami, maybe emotionally, but your emotions, you said it cannot be approached by mind or senses. So the mind or senses has got automatically withdrawn from the entire world, other things, your relations, your good bad people, your word, your problems, everything gone. So 90% problem is gone at that state. Okay. What is the ultimate culmination of your giving hand to Swami while you are in the world? He works through you. He works through you. One science student, Amiya, who sings always with Ravi Kumar in Parthi, even now, he was given the work of taking photographs and video of Swami and the entire happening in Kodai, on a Kodai trip. And somehow that Swami gives that ignore Upanishad, as Hari Subramaniam says. He will ignore some people, or he will ignore one or two with some purpose or the other, which will be revealed later on. At that trip, Amiya was being ignored by Swami, and he would not talk to him. Though he would be near to him, he will be they will have lunch together, everything will be there. But he was on the ignore, put on the ignore mode. So he is hiding behind the screen, because Swami is. Imagine if Swami, only a true Bhakta can understand the weight of these lines. If Swami was to ignore you, if Krishna was to ignore the Gopikas, then the Gopikas, or you, a sincere Sai devotee, you would feel like hiding your face from the entire world. You would not like to show your face to anyone in the world, the face which is not being welcomed by Sri Krishna or Swami. Only a sincere devotee who has undergone struggle and who has not been able to experience Swami's presence or Swami's proximity. That means Swami is ignoring you. Only that devotee can understand. So he's sort of hiding and taking the photograph. Swami from first floor, Kodai, he is coming down. Hey, he calls. And already he is being ignored. All those students who are ignored when Swami calls them sternly, that means that next 2 months, the professor, the college lecturers, the other students, other friends, nobody would come anywhere near to them. They'll be sort of achut, untouchable. He's shocked, petrified, and goes on. What are you doing? You're taking photographs. You are able to hide, okay, yourself from me, okay, and you can take only my photograph. You can steal only my image. But what I will do, I am your photo chore. Okay? I am Chittachora. I will steal your mind. So the entire student, they burst into laughter. That ignore mode has gone. Amiya has been accepted, and it's all great. Suddenly, when Swami looks at you, the entire dimension changes. When Swami accepts you, the whole world accepts you. When Swami deserts you, you are untouchable. You better go and hide in somewhere in cave. So coming back here, in the process of giving your hands to Swami, what happens? That's gradually Swami works through you. Initially it may be emotional, but Swami steals your mind, which is up to the stage which is being emotional to Swami, that mind itself is taken by Swami. Then you are able to approach Swami, you are able to worship Swami without mind and speech. Pratar bhajami manasa vachasa magamya. Only if you experience this, you will know the weightage. Not even weightage. Weightage is wrong. The fragrance of this expression. What this is? The fragrance. That means, in essence, the inner experience is that you are giving your hand to Swami, and Swami is holding your hand. Neither you are there, neither your hand is there, neither Swami's mind is there, but that essence of experience is there. So you are pursuing Swami through mind, emotion, that is gone. That is the worship, that is the stage you have to. So through this path also, easily in the waking state, when you are challenged by a world, it is possible. So in devotion, when mind, speech are all gone, still someone is praying, still someone bhajami. What is that bhajami? It is actually nididhyasana, because mind and speech is gone, means your senses are gone, means your individual ego is gone. You are not existing and still you are praying. And mind and speech is gone, means neither the object, neither God is there, neither Swami is there. That is gone. So there is a worship going on without the worshipper and the worship. What it is? It goes to Brahman. Direct. Clear? Who then actually is praying? To whom actually? Where there is no mind. A beautiful exposition given by Brahmarishi Shivanandaji Maharaj's immortal disciple Krishnanandji. Essence or his expressions in between to ease them out, he may bring in some expressions that flow. What is prayer? Everyone prays. We hear that in all temples, in holy places, churches and mosques, in sacred places of pilgrimage, prayers are offered. Okay, so some sacred chanting is there, mantras are recited, gospels are read in churches, and we bow our heads before a holy of deities. This much is visible everywhere in ardent religious circles. We do offer prayer. That is Maharaj, met a person some time back and asked him, what his occupation is that? He said, I do prayer. My work is only prayer, Swamiji. Do you offer prayer the whole day? Yes, I do the best. I do that to the best of my ability. What for you are praying? I pray for bringing about a healing touch in that area of the world where there is a rift of the human psyche, where there is pain, where there is tension, agitation. I direct my prayer to that area. I am satisfied that my prayers have good results, he replied. I asked him a probing question. How does your prayer, which is evidently a thought which is in your mind, an idea which is your head, intellect, how does that idea, how does that thought, that feeling in your mind, which is within your body, come into contact with that area where you want to take it to effect? He gave me a proper answer. He said, I do not do anything. What actually does the work is something else. But what is my function? What do I do? If what actually does the miracle is something else, I operate my sattvic mind initially, like we said, holding my mind is okay. I operate my mind initially in such a way that it establishes a purposive contact with another thing altogether, which is pervading in this world, and it receives my message. I do not contact that area in which I wish to effect some particular result. I may not be even knowing where the pain is, where the agitation is. Okay, yet my prayers will have an effect, notwithstanding the fact that I am not personally conscious of the troubles that people may be undergoing in the world. Then I asked him, Maharaj asked him, how does a particular area receive the benediction, the benefit of your prayer, if you are not even aware that such an area exists or that such an area is in need of any help? His answer was very illuminating. That which I am trying in my whole humble capacity to contact for the purpose of bringing about this effect is not a blind energy. It is all intelligence and can understand what I am telling it. When I am saying, my request to you, my dear friend, my supreme intelligence, that means in effect the Atman. Without telling so, he is saying, my supreme intelligence, I am telling it, my friend, is I request that you kindly bring a healing touch and act as a cementing force in that particular location of the world, in that mind of that person, as may be necessary to cause psychological solidarity, social peace, political harmony, goodwill and amity, health and wealth, prosperity. These words of mine, which are after all, which I can speak in my whole humble capacity, are received. They are received because that which receives has the intelligence. What is it receiving? What is trying to convey? What in effect? What is the one who is praying is also the source. The one who is receiving is also the source. So, Maharaj, I refuse your initial accusation. There is no mind involved in this. Okay, it's a very, 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 very subtle thing. You have to get into this kind of a prayer, then only you will understand what he's saying. But then, after a series, plethora of sessions, the time has come that you have to accept this challenge and you have to get into such intense nididhyasana. What is the intelligence which this person refers to, which is transmitting the prayers to the supreme intelligence? We know we exist as conscious being. Conscious means conscious of our dear mind in our waking state of consciousness. Even if in our dreams, mind operates to its fullest capacity, body is not there, intellect is there to a limited extent. So even in the dream, we are conscious beings. How about deep sleep? There is, in the deep sleep, as though there is behind the dark cloud of the conscious side, which we experience in deep sleep, a lamp which is shining there, undimmed by the winds of the performances of the psyche. Still, a ray of light is there, though our BMI is not there. Though it is this Anandamaya Kosha, though it's state of ignorance, still a ray of light is there which conveys to us that we had a great sleep. Otherwise, nothing would be coming. We would be getting up the next day as dead log of wood, unaware of our deep sleep, without agitation. One light is there. Okay, windless is the deepest location of our being. That flame is an eternal illumination within us. And this inscrutable, subliminal root of our existence is the cause of our many longings in the world. So, cutting short, this little radiance with us is really not as finite as we may think. It is the large, spaceless radiance which is apparently caught up in the midst of the dark, unconscious cloud of our unknowing, like in deep sleep. And through this little slit called the intellect, it manifests itself as understanding in the empirical sense. Who does prayer actually? Does the body offer prayer? Limited body, it has all the limitations. A true prayer cannot emanate from the medium of our body. Body cannot never be a medium of offering the prayer. The body itself undergoing so many changes from birth to death. Body cannot be a medium of our prayer. Basically, it is Jadavastu. Basically, it is unconscious. It is not awareness. Okay. We go to the deeper layers, the intellect, the mind, the vitality. None of this can stand by themselves. Satchit we ruled out through 3. He is not getting into it. By now, it should have been grooved into your very identity. We took 3 parameters and we ruled out the eternal existence of something in all the 5 koshas. So intellect, all these things are ruled out. They are all insentient and they are all changing. Okay, they are all jada. Okay, all these layers, these vestures do indeed take part in some manner or the other in the performance of the religious exercise. But the performances of these vestures of the human personality become significant and meaningful only when they are enlivened and become self-conscious. Even the Jada 5 koshas, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya, all of them get enlivened by that ray of light, that light which is not as finite as we think. Okay. In our sleep, we cannot know anything of our sleep. Okay. But we can know that we did sleep and we did sleep well. So we don't know anything, but we know that we had a good sleep. There is a contradiction. Okay. How can one remember a thing of which one had no experience? And we had no conscious experience in the data state of deep sleep. If we had a conscious experience, naturally, every time in deep sleep, our mind should be telling us, I am sleeping now, I am sleeping now, I am sleeping now. It doesn't happen. You are unconscious. Okay. Still, you are able to say, I had a good sleep. Okay. So, even in all these jada insentient koshas, five sheets, okay, there is one witness consciousness, one Satchit, one which is illumining all these five. Okay, and in fact, that source is praying to that source. The Atman, the source within the Jiva, is praying to the source, ultimate source, Brahman, where the Brahman is reached without mind and speech. Okay, he gave a striking message to three sadhakas 2 weeks before. Your mind is, be with me very clearly. Mind is conscious when I am about to sleep. Man is conscious when he is about to sleep. Man is conscious when he gets up from sleep. Man without his BMI functioning in the deep sleep is still, there is some ray, some light is there. Otherwise, the consciousness or the conscience, a consciousness which is there up to the time, up to that minute of his sleep, when he's sleeping, when that is gone, then the child, when it's born on the first day, it would be awake, conscious till the time it sleeps. Once it sleeps, the next morning it will be getting up as dead. Because that conscious thing has been broken forever. It doesn't happen. We are conscious when you are sleeping, about to sleep, we are immediately conscious. Samspurat, immediately when I get up, it is shining forth. Atma Tattvam. Okay, so it is the continuum, it is continuation. You are conscious, you are also conscious when you are in deep sleep, though without your BMI, without any of your faculty which are related to being conscious, still there is beyond something which is conscious, that is consciousness. Okay, otherwise you would be dead on the next day morning. What more solid example you want? More scientific example you want? What more proof you want that you are always that, irrespective of your state of consciousness? So, with this clarity, let us revisit the para of Maharaj. All these layers, these vestures do indeed take part in some manner or other in the performance of the religious exercise. But the performances of these vestures of the human personality become significant and meaningful only when they are enlivened and become self-conscious. In prayer, we have to dive deep into ourselves. We make a little sound, we say something to God such as, oh God, please do this. But this cannot reach Him unless we have something in us. Some frequency in us, some energy in us, some supreme intellect in us, Atman, by means of which we are able to contact that high frequency existence called the Absolute. and that mechanism is inside us. And when that person said that my BMI is not praying, still my prayer goes on, and I am very confident that one supreme intellect is receiving my prayer. Your bhajami is at that level. No mind, no senses, no speech, no emotions. Something should happen within you even while you are listening this. Such striking things you should actually feel that glow within you if you are seriously listening. Bhajami or worship expressed by Shankara here is the transmission of something mystical from a superconscious level within us, which is obviously beyond the time and mind and senses, and reaching out to that superconscious absolute, which can never be reached through mind and senses. So, though Shankara apparently is giving you an easier platform, bhajami, but he has added one not with mind and speech. So from here only, apparently bhajami, immediately name and form may come. He is again taking you to that same Atma Tattva. Okay, a relaxation is given. In the initial, if it is emotional through mind, let it be. But if it is through mind and senses, adoration and worship, third stage, only if your mind, may it be through our mind, but only if your mind is so intensely focused on the chosen form, Devi, Hanuman, Rama, Krishna, Shirdi Sai, Satya Sai, Mahavir, Guru Nanak, Jain, whatever. Only if your mind is so intensely focused, Guru Ayyappan, whatever, intensely focused on the chosen deity, then it is possible that in that intense focus, single pointed devotion, you can reach to Atma Nivedanam. Only through that single pointed focus, even though it may be with mind to the chosen God, on the chosen God, what will happen? That God comes and gives that last minute help, and he will steal. It's a very mystical process which can be experienced, which cannot be expressed at all. How Sai is giving all these words of expression, he is not glorifying him by giving these words of expression. He is helping you all, to help you all, to serve you all. He is giving this expression through huge. This is being an inexplicable mystical phenomena is being explained where, though it may be through mind, that like Swami told to Amiya, he himself Chitachora Yashoda ke bal. He himself steals that mind away from you. So, as he taught in that this thing, what was the stage after a single pointed devotion? Total devotion transforms to total love. How it happened, the Bhakta does not know. Similarly, here, how that at what deep point of time, what second, how it happened, how he stole the mind from you, you cannot make out because it's all mystical. It is all dimension beyond time and space, beyond the mind, intellect. You cannot make out. But nevertheless, your mind has been stolen by God, and still you are worshipping, your bhajani is continuing. Where Swami is not there, you are not there. The ritual process of devotion is not there, but still something is there. Superconscious intellect, superconscious Atman, reaching out and merging to the superconscious Brahman, Krishna coming near us, Krishna touching us, Krishna merging in us, or our merging in Krishna. Nayaname Sayu. It is possible even through giving hands to Swami. If your giving hands to Swami is so total from morning to night, uninterrupted, as he said, feeling the aura, feeling the fragrance, feeling that a flower may not be seen in the forest, you don't know, you cannot identify, your eye is not able to reach to that this thing, that malli or that flower, but that fragrance is reaching you. The name Anama Rupa of the flower is not that. That fragrance is has so pervaded you. You are intoxicated by that fragrance. It happens when Vibhuti is materialized somewhere. You may not be able to see where it is materialized. That fragrance of Swami's Vibhuti, it pervades you totally. So, if you are giving hands to Swami so total, so sincere, so uninterrupted, okay, then the Chittachora part, withdrawing part, is that they're withdrawing the hands from your hands, making you lose the identity of your hands, making you lose the identity of his hands, making you lose the identity of your thinking that I am giving my hands to his hands. Still, Jadikkai Pittagam pol Ingal Villam Vazhakkai, where the Jadikkai is kept. Even after it is removed, that fragrance remains in that jadi. Agrahara we used to keep the jadi in that. Similarly, the fragrance of the process, the experience, a subjecting, intuitive, intimate experience has happened. The hands are gone. Jivatman has merged with the Paramatman. The stream of river has merged with the Prema Sagara. Beautiful. We have attained that Sayujya Padavi. How it happens? Another line in this thing, Shankara, it is unattainable by the mind and speech, but by the grace of which all worlds shine. It is his grace through which you came into the parampara, you came into these sessions, you are enriched with all this knowledge in the bhakti, in the jnana, everything, and you are able to differentiate your pre-sessions life with the post-session life. You are able to get convinced at the Mananam stage, you are able to give the hands, you are able to feel the hands, or you are able to meditate, contemplate on these sessions, you are able to come up to a stage where even though you might not have, maybe few of us have had the glimpses, he knows, even if you have not had the glimpse, there is a very positive, he is giving you the hopes galore from dawn to dusk. He is saying you are going to remember only Pratasmarami, you are not going to undergo any new thing to discover your true identity as Atman. There is a positive hope that you will get that glimpse of merger which he is nailing, gluing into your very identity day in and day out. How all these things has happened? By the grace of which all the worlds shine. Un arulal unne arinte. We have exceeded time. To go fast. That which the scriptures declare through words, not this, neti. This part he will leave because time shortage is there. Unborn, unachyutam, unborn and imperishable. To experience that which is unborn, imperishable, it is impossible to use the mind and intellect senses, because anything which is perceived by senses and mind can only be something which has a birth, even if it is a non-living thing like a dining table. If you are going to experience something as an object, then it has to have a birth. The carpenter should have given birth to the table, and some time or the other it will break, it will perish. Okay, so here, when through all those five roots we ruled out that since if we can never ever perceive that superconscious absolute Brahman with our mind senses, so it is very well clear that Ajay Amar, we say, so it is unborn, no birth, hence no death. Ultimately, the ocean realizes the truth that I was never born as an ocean, I was always the water. I have been water always, I will continue to be water. Okay. It is unknown to those who know it. It is known to, I believe, again, it will take a long time to explain. Next. Pratar namami tamasa param arkavarnam purnam sanatana padam purushottamakyam yasmin nidan jagata se shama sesha myurtau rajvam bhujangama eva pratibhasitam vai. At dawn I bow to that which is called the highest self, which is the blazing sun of consciousness. Tamasaf param arkavarnam, which dispels all the darkness. The ancient sanatana padam, which is the plenum, purnam, that the residueless form or the whole purnam, in which the entire universe is made manifest as if a snake is perceived to be born, whereas the snake is not there, only the rope is there. Rajvam, okay, pratibhasitam, as though perceived. At dawn, I salute the blazing sun of consciousness beyond all darkness, beyond all the darkness of mortality, beyond all the darkness of death, beyond all the darkness of ignorance, avidya. 100 and 1,000 times of times Vivekananda, the sage, has used these expressions when he used to address, whether it was the United States or anywhere. He used to start with this Shweta Shwatara, this thing, versus Shrinvantu Vishwe Amritasya Putra Aye Dhamani Divyani Tastu. Listen, you children of immortal bliss. Vaidehi Namam Vaikunta Namam. We sing na? Okay, Sri Ramacharanam. Listen, you children at the earthly level, but however immortal bliss. Vaikuntam, also the gods, the lower gods, that is the Indras, Varunas, all. Also the gods who might be high in the high heavens. Okay. Both of you listen. What? Vedahametam purusham mahantam adityavarnam tamasaf parastha. I have realized, or you should realize, that infinite being blazing forth adityavarnam, blazing forth like the sun, beyond tamasaf parastha, beyond all darknesses of death, mortality, and ignorance. And when Vivekananda used to roar these lines, it used to be as if he has not lived in that age, but he can relate, like he has shared with you when he was reading the Moksha Gita, reading the Brahma Sutra of Moksha, Shivanandaji Maharaj in that Alia Center flat. It was as if without form he was there, Shivanandaji Maharaj was there, and transmitting the knowledge straight into subjective experience, even if when he was just reading it. The reading, the Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, everything happened simultaneously at one instant. So he can relate as if he was seated in Chicago listening to the address of Vivekananda. He can relate that at that moment itself, people would feel as if they have realized that blazing sun of consciousness, dispelling all the darkness within them, the avidya within them, in all the births up to that moment. The darkness which has been dispelled by the blazing shines, Hridi Samspurat Atma Tattvam. And the other two lines after this Aditya Varnam Tamas Parastha, the English version ends like, those who know that become immortal. There is no other path. Brother Sundar gave another interesting dimension, totally different dimension to it. It is out of his experience, he is sharing the knowledge. Whichever is more appealing to you, you can take the interpretation. He says, he is not saying I am prostrating, I am saluting to that blazing sun of consciousness which is dispelling the darkness. He is saying, I offer salutations to the darkness which is giving birth to that supreme illumination, the illumination that is complete, which is the primordial abode of the Supreme Purusha. What he says is that from the darkness, deep sleep only, when I have got up and immediately smarami, immediately that awakening has happened. Or in crude or more easier way, when we have to see all these sins committed by us or all our ignorance, all our things in this dimension of Brother Sundar, he says we salute and we prostrate to our ignorance, our avidya, our darkness, everything, because if after rolling in that darkness for several births and reaching to a point, love of God session, there comes a moment where we are disillusioned by the relations, by the associations, by everything in this universe. Rolling in the darkness, living in the darkness, at one point of time, that urge, that despair, that fire within us comes, that no more of this darkness, no more of this avidya. I should get that eternal knowledge of Brahman. Guru strike knocks at your door. So here Sundar says that I prostrate to the darkness itself, because in that darkness, living in the darkness for ages only, has given me that moment of despair, that moment of utter conviction that I should actually rise beyond the darkness. He is prostrating to the darkness itself. To those very few of who are able to reach that, this actually you can meditate on both. First, meditate on this darkness part, and next, ultimately on the initial part, blazing sun of consciousness, which dispels the darkness. Okay. We salute all our hardships, all our follies, all our ignorance, which invoke that fire of moksha within us. Another dimension. Ekam sat vipra bahuda vadan. Okay. Seers share, seers explain in different bahuda vadanti, but sat is a. Ultimately, you are reaching to that illumination part. Whether directly, like in the Shweta Ashwatara Upanishad, like directly contemplating on that sun of Koti Surya Samateja Swarupa, on that consciousness, or salute or prostrating to the darkness, ultimate goal is the one. Purnam, complete as being, nothing to be known more than that, nothing more valuable than that, nothing to be attained more than that. If he has to stop here and take up this Purnam, this Purnamada Purnamidam will take 2 hours. Now let us leave it for some. It has been given in 2013. Maybe Swami will, from India or from where he doesn't know, that session will be there. Sanatana Padam, eternal. This eternal has also been taken together with non-dual. Why? If the Advaita or non-dual part is ignored and we keep on meditating on eternal, that means what? This eternal means all pervading. Then our intellect, those sattvic mind, sattvic intellect, to somewhere will bring about this space concept, because how you are saying all pervading, that means it is pervading the entire space. And it is pervading at all times, that means time, space both have come. So in the contemplation, in the Mananam stage, you have to take this eternal part, okay, Sanatana Padam, eternal along with non-dual. So when you bring that non-dual along with the eternal, in the non-dual part, the space cannot be there, the time cannot be there. Listen once more to get to the depth of this. Okay? Eternal non-dual. Purushottama. This is the Purushottama yoga of Bhagavad Gita. Sankhya of Kapila limits to the Purusha and Prakriti. Okay? And it doesn't go, Kapila does not go to the origin of the Purusha as though the Purusha was there. And from the Purusha, the Prakriti emerged and so on, and the creation happened. Bhagavad Gita goes beyond that and it says Purushottama. Okay, beyond the manifest and the unmanifest. All these have been shown in a tabular form in the creation of the universe. Purusha as interpreted in the Panchadashi, Purusha as interpreted in the Sankhya, Purusha as interpreted in the Bhagavad Gita. Everything is given in the creation of universe. If any curious sadhaka can lay his or her hands on that, they may share that post in the bigger group, post this session. So consciousness associated with all the changing beings, that is Kshara Brahman. Consciousness associated with the Ishvara, Akshara Brahman. Beyond the Kshara and the Akshara, beyond the manifest and the unmanifest, is that Purushottama. Okay. The Palashruti of last verse. Shlokatrayam idam punyam lokatraya vibhushanam pratah kale patedhyastu sagacche paramam padam. this meritorious trade of verses, the ornament of the three words, he who reads at the time of dawn goes to the supreme abode, supreme goal, Paramam Padam. This is the Palashruti of this Vedantic prayer. It is an peak climax of the prayer whose purpose is to consecrate the thoughts, words, and deeds of the individual, or in other interpretation, the body or the three can be interpreted in any way: thoughts, words, and deeds, or body, mind, and spirit, or waking, dream, and deed, sleep, or sattva, rajas, tamas, whatever way. Three. Okay. Through all these three dimensions, one who is clear about these three Vedantic prayers, that Vedantic prayer is also three: Smarami, Namami, Bhajami. He who attains the Paramam Pada. I offer worship unto thee, O Lord, whom the worldly minded cannot reach, but who art to thy devotees the wish yielding treasure, Kalpavriksha, wish yielding treasure, and the object of worship to all, Lord of the universe. Thou art formless and yet with forms. Have mercy upon me, O Lord, and pray, promptly grant me devotion and merger unto thy lotus feet. Salutation unto thee, the all-pervading and the great Lord. Thou art liberation itself, and the holy scriptures are thy embodied form. I worship thee, the unborn, attributeless, and unconditional one. Thou art without any desire. Intelligence itself is thy nature, the sky, thy ornament. O Lord, all spiritual paths are like streams reaching to thee, the one supreme ocean of existence, consciousness, bliss, Satchit Ananda. Thou art the soul of our souls. Thou art our mother, thou art our father, thou art our friend, thou art our companion, thou art our knowledge, thou art our wealth, thou art our all in all. From the unreal to the real, Asatoma, Sadgamaya, from the darkness lead us to the light, Tamasoma, Jyotirgamaya, from death lead us to the immortality, Mrityorma, Amritam Gamaya. Reach us through and through our soul and evermore bless us all with thy inspiring presence. May we find thee in the heart of hearts, our hearts. May we find thee in all our fellow beings. May we love thee and serve thee in all. May the world be peaceful. May all be free from danger. May all realize what is good. May all be actuated by noble thoughts. May all be happy everywhere. In fact, in all the three verses of Smarami, Bhajami, and Namami, what is being instructed by the Bhagavad Pada, Shankara, is exactly the same. What is being given as the goal is exactly the same. And since the mode has been given in three different dimensions, apparently expression-wise, word-wise as Smarami, Bhajami, and Namami, they may appear as three different streams reaching out and culminating into the Prema Sagara Sai Rama, ocean of infinite absolute Brahman. But when you listen to the last Pratasmarami and this in one stroke without an interruption and with undivided focus, undivided attention, not to be disturbed by even the sound of a chirping bird in this creation, transcend the creation and then listen to the two sessions in continuity. It will be so mystic, you will realize that all these three are not different at all. It is the same. The bhajami is the same as that. Samspurat Atma Tattvam. Okay, here Tamasav Parastat, it is the same. Aditya Varnam, it is the same as that. Samspurat Atma Tattvam. There is no difference. It is only that we have devoted 3 hours of mananam through these sessions to enrich ourselves and to be very clear of our true identity as to what we are. And we can take the bhajami mode initially with mind to immediately reach up to that smarami, hriday samspurat atma. Last session from Oman. God Almighty knows when the continuity is going to happen from elsewhere or here. It will flow wherever, because all these things are beyond time and space. But as things stand now, we started during the COVID period, the online from Muscat here, from this same Kutir, from February or March. First was the wave and ocean analogy, satsang. And we culminate with this Pratasmarami in this Kutir. Next session definitely may not happen in this Kutir and may not happen from Oman. But nevertheless, all these things are beyond time and space. He himself is beyond time and space. And the grace which is coming forth from there, that which is unattainable by mind and space, but by the grace of which the entire world shines, that is also time and space. The source is time and space. The source which is giving to this source is time, beyond time and space. And this source is giving, and all the sources which are receiving, they are all are Shannanti Vishwe Amritasya Putra, all are beyond time and space. That's it. Jai Bolo Bhagwan Shri Satya Sai Baba Ji Ki Jai. Bye bye for now. Maybe for a month, till the time he settles somewhere. The weekly satsangs may not happen. Take this 3-4 months spirit to dwell intensely on the Rathasmarami, and every time you listen, you, in the limitation of the time space, you create a time space for you where you are able to go beyond the time space, and in continuity you will listen to the both sessions as though they are in one stretch, and find the beauty, find the mystic experience of all the three being the same, undivided. He was and he is never attached to this country, and he was and he is never attached to wherever he is. Any attachment to any country will bring in the time space object limitations. You stay beyond, transcend that. Not boasting of himself, but those who have seriously observed him. It is a great motivation for those few, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, how to be in this world and still be far beyond this world. Leave the name and form, get motivated and run fast, so that the bow, the arrow, releases itself from the bow and reaches the target. Atmata.